Yeah, it's good for the.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. بسم الله. So the ulama, they say من لم يشكر لنعمة تعرض لزوالها, that whoever does not thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a blessing and appreciate that blessing, they risk losing it. So alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, we're all blessed with people like Abdul Rahman, and we're blessed with a masjid, and blessed with not everybody in the world has a masjid to go to, and not everybody in the world has the safety of walking to the mosque, right? And so it's a blessing that we live in a place where we're safe. It's a blessing that we know that we can go to the mosque and there's no danger. And it may well be, Allahu A'lam, that things have become otherwise. That who knows what happens if the coronavirus increases, that they might have to close the mosque again, etc. Or there might be further restrictions. And so we can all just take a moment to just think, how can we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more for the blessing of having a masjid and the blessing of having access to come and pray together. And so just do it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes He teaches us lessons that when takes a blessing away from us, that to remind us of how much it's worth to us, inshallah. Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we were finishing Surat al-Falaq. Where's Abdul Rahman? Abdul Rahman, if you got that quote? That quote about Falaq? Okay, okay, who can remind us anything about Surat al-Falaq?
I seek refuge from the Lord of the darkness. Falaq is like something that like a darkness.
That was the ghasaq. That was later. So that was what was it? قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب.
Falaq is daybreak.
Daybreak,
yes.
Right? And so that was called Falaq. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق, which meant from the
evil of the creation.
And we mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created evil. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created evil. Right? We mentioned that's a very important point. Why is there evil in the world? Why is there sickness in the world? Why is there difficulty? Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it. Right? But is it bad that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it? No. But is it bad that we do things that He doesn't like? Yes. Right? So we can label bad as things that Allah doesn't like. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us and created our sins. Allah created us and created whatever oppression. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created all these things. Sickness, oppression, difficulty, poverty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created all of these things. What is bad is that we choose intentionally to do haram, right? Or makruh. Makruh is also evil, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has just said there's no punishment for it. Right? So in the eyes of somebody who, on a moral level, morality in terms of good and bad, there's no difference between makruh and haram. They're the same. Makruh means don't do it. Haram means don't do it. On the practical level, one is if you don't do it, I'm telling you not to do it, and if you do it, there's punishment. So it's a practical something else as well. But in terms of your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's the same. Right? So imagine if your manager says, if you're late one more time, you're going to be fired. Okay, so that's haram. As opposed to, if you're late, you're going to be earning money that's not yours. I'm paying you to work 9 to 5 and you turn up 2 hours late. And I don't like that and you don't like that. So morally it's the same. but one has a practical thing. So as in terms of your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your loyalty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the makruh and the haram are the same. Right? And so we generally speaking, the most important thing in our life is to avoid the makruh and the haram. Right? The makruh and the haram. That's the most important thing. Right? And usually that means that most key sunnahs, there are many sunnahs, if you do this thing the sunnah, the most important sunnahs are often offensive to miss. Right? So for example, the ulama, they disagree, is it wajib or sunnah to pray witr? So the Hanafis say it's wajib, you are sinful. Allah has said, if you do not pray witr, you are being threatened with a punishment. That means haram. The Shafi'is, they say no, but if you didn't pray witr, you're doing something makruh. Okay, that means there's no threat of a punishment. You're still doing something bad. Right? So these things are the same. So we spoke about evil. So قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ, from the evil that he created, وَمِنْ شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ, from that thing that spills out over the night, the darkness that spills out over the night, or it's possible there's the moon as well, I mentioned, إِذَا وَقَبَ, when it becomes intense and dark. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ وَمِنْ شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ وَمِنْ شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ. We also mentioned that. We mentioned nafasa and nafakha and nafasa. Who knows what nafas means? Farsi, nafas. Breath. Nafakh, to blow something. Nafakha is a pump. Right? That's nafkh. Right? Yawma yunfakhu fi sur, when the horn will be blown into. That's nafkh. Nafs. Naf. Okay, and then nafath is when you blow without any spit. Like that. Right? Right? Okay, so that's nafath. So the nafathat were those women who go like that on uqad, which was knots. Right? You have the word uqda. You know, uqda is a knot. It's also a what's it called? Psychological problem. What do they call it? It's the no. It's someone has a psychosis. So that you have so when someone has a problem, they have this particular problem called uqda kada. This kind of psychosis or that kind of psychosis called uqda, a problem. The person is tied in a knot. Right? That's called uqda. Right? Aqidah. Who knows what that means? Aqidah. Belief. Tied in a knot. Aqidah is not what you believe, it's what you know. I believe, I hope that Allah will forgive me. I know that Allah exists. Two different things. Aqidah is what you know. That's why it's called aqd. Aqd is a contract. Right? This is the fact, this is the deal we have. We have a contract. I'm going to do this, you're going to do this. That's how it is. That's called aqd. Aqidah, tied knot. This is what I believe. Full stop. Is what you know, not what you believe. In English, when we say the word beliefs, it sounds like kind of opinions or things. No. Belief is not. That's not what we mean when we say beliefs. When your religious beliefs are the things that you know. Right? What is it? أول واجب على الإنسان معرفة الله. What is it? Not bil ayan, I can't remember the word now, but they say the first obligation of a human being is to know that Allah exists, not to think that Allah exists. To know, I know that Allah exists. I know that the Prophet was sent as a messenger. I know that I'm going to die. I know that I'll be raised. That's a fact. It's not an opinion. It's not my opinion versus your opinion, right? That's aqd. And naffathat fil uqad, those who blow on knots. And who are these people who blow on knots? We did that. Witches. So it's a particular type of witchcraft called knot, and it's known throughout the world. They all do you do a little magic. You make a little kind of bad dua, right? Bad dua, right? And then you go on this knot, and it works like that, right? Next door, great. Okay. نفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. So we also mentioned something with the word ghasiq. Notice the word al-ghasiq. What did it mean? Yeah, and was it definite or indefinite? Indefinite. غاسقين تنوين. Right? And we said that means some kind of dark thing. Some kind of scary dark thing. Some kind of thing out there. Right? There's some crazy animal out there as opposed to there is the animal out there. Often in English or in Arabic, when we say a, it can often mean some kind of crazy thing as opposed to the thing. And so it says, وَمِن شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ, the blowers on knots, definite. We know who they are, those women who do witchcraft. وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ, and the evil of some envier, an envier, some crazy envier, some nutcase envier who's trying to ruin your life. Either hasad, when he has envy, right? It's the same indefinite word. Min shari hasidin. Are you seeking protection from a particular one? A hasid, an envier? No, you're talking about some kind of crazy envier, some nutcase who really wants to ruin you, right? And as they say, any enemy is a real. Any enemy is a big enemy. Anybody who's trying to harm you that's a big problem, right? And so hasad is real. And obviously, we know on a social level, when you have hasad against somebody, that obviously the person is trying to has this thing against you, but also it has effect on other levels, right? Because the Prophet told us about the ayn, right? The evil eye. So what is the evil eye? The ulama, they disagree. What is the evil eye? Is it that I look at you and and I try and focus my evil on you, or is it that I notice, mashallah, I like your shirt, and I don't look at it as a blessing from Allah? Right, so that comes in a hadith where one of the Sahaba saw another Sahaba. He wasn't attracted to him, but mashallah was a very handsome guy. So he looked at him, and then the guy got really sick. And the Prophet said, "Why is it one of you? Why do you kill your brothers? Right? You should say Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Right? You see a blessing, mashallah, ascribe it to Allah. Right? Look to Allah, not it's a blessing." So they disagree. They disagree though. Is it that you look at somebody with evil, or evil intent, or is it that you just look at something and you like it and you don't say mashallah, alhamdulillah, you don't turn it back to Allah? Right? It's a difference of agreement. But the most important thing we mentioned last week is what magic isn't running your life, and the evil eye isn't running your life. You know, this is again, many people say these kind of things like, true, here we have a surah that says specific seeking protection, particular special protection from magic, and asking for special protection from hasad, right, from envy. But that doesn't mean that it's a thing it's not running your life. The reason why I'm in debt is hasad. The reason why my marriage wasn't working out is because the day before I got married, this woman was there and she did this. Yeah, it's true. Magic is true, but it's not running your life. Just like coronavirus is not running your life. That's not the explanation to everything that's going on in your life. It could be that your business has been affected more than somebody else's. It's true, right? It's true. Many countries, for example, in the world, they rely on tourism. So, well, you know, that was your income basically for the year, and it's like, what's happened? It's a big problem, true, but it's not running your life. Coronavirus is not running your life. The evil eye is not running your life. Magic isn't ruining your life, but they are real, and we should seek protection from them. Right? Okay. So what was it? So what did we mention in general? We said Qul Huwallahu Ahad was looking straight to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, dealing with Allah directly. And Surat al-Falaq is dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the context of all these different evils around you, of people, of magic, of hasad, of all these different things around you, and seeking protection. So what is we mentioned as well, what is the difference between the good person and the bad person? What was it?
Knowing and not knowing?
No, it's like the bad person acts upon the evil.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh man, I want to kill that guy, Abdul Rahman. So what do? I say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. What does the Farid's evil twin say? Yeah, let's do it. So it's not that the same ideas don't come to you. Right? It's not like this person is, protected from demonic ideas and egotistic ideas. No, you're a human being. The same thing happens, but the idea comes to you. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Right? You're seeking protection from these things, right? Abdul Shakur, فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ. That was the ayah. Yeah. No, before that, فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ. طائفة من الشيطان طائفة من الشيطان. What's the verse? What's before it?
This is hard.
I can tell you after, but that's hard to tell you.
Okay, anyway. But the verse anyway mentions that those who believe, when the shaitan, ta'if is from the word tafa yatuf, tawaf, you go around. Shaitan's trying to get around them from this side, that side, whatever. It comes to them. When it just so much as touches them, what is it? Something. Massahum ta'ifum. So what is it? Tadhakkaru. Right. They remember, hang on a minute, I know what's going on. The shaitan's trying to get me here. They remember, they reflect. Okay, turn to Allah. فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ, and lo and behold, subhanAllah, they can see clearly. Why? Because they remember. So the shaitan's trying to get them, it makes them even stronger. Disease comes, what does your body do? Create white blood cells, do this, mashallah. You know how to defend yourself. That's what the belief is. So that it's not the shaitan doesn't come to you. The shaitan comes to you, but how do you respond? So Surat al-Falaq. You've got the same evils around you saying all these things, but what is it? Turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this multiplicity. And that concept is very, very important. You know, people like the multiplicity, all these things around you. People think, oh, I need to get rid of the dunya. It's true. You don't need to buy, you don't have to have 5 Ferraris, right? If you have 5 Ferraris, give me one, right? But right? But the point is, that's not dunya. The dunya is what's in your heart, right? So there's a beautiful story that I believe Ibn Arabi, he was on Hajj, and there was an old man holding onto the Kaaba, saying, oh Allah, give me another house. He had 2 houses. Oh Allah, give me another house. Crying to Allah, please give me more dunya, please. And then he walked out. He was leaving the haram, and he saw this young man who was in the marketplace buying and selling, but the whole time making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one is with Allah alone, but he's not with Allah alone. He's with the dunya. And the other person's in the middle of the marketplace trying to get make some money today. It's hard, day by day. There's no unemployment, there's no whatever COVID-19 boost, whatever. It's like khalas, like it's hard the whole time making things going, right? So being in the middle of all these different things and turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna alladhina ittaqaw. So those people who have taqwa, is it that they don't have bad ideas? No. The shaitan still gets them, but what do? Tadhakkaru. And they turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Okay. Ya Rab. So what is this me breathing into this?
Yeah. There's no one back there, so
huh?
There's no one back
there. There's no one back there, okay.
It's just good for you to the volume increases the volume.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so that's Surat al-Falaq. Did you find out, Abdurrahman? Come on.
Yeah, that assignment failed.
It's okay. My notes can delete it somehow.
Let me see if I got the one in front of me. There's this quote from Jalaluddin Rumi that I sent to Abdurrahman.
Well, I didn't know, like, the youngsters over there are the ones who integrate.
Alhamdulillah. Where is it? Abdurrahman Jan.
We didn't find it. I searched him.
Maybe Abdullah.
There's a very nice poet called Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, who's Turkish or Iranian, one of the two. Definitely not Afghani.
Oh.
And
Maulana is like, you guys are racist, man. He's from Pakistan.
He's Pakistan. He's not English. Where is this, man?
He's the one that topped Baba Farid. He's from Spain.
It's on the youth thing. That's what it is. It's like you're never gonna find it.
Try to.
Yeah, no, sorry. I thought I sent it to you.
You did.
No, to you personally.
Yeah.
You got it. Okay, yellow. This one. Then. Okay. This is my. Who can read this? Farsi. Come read some Farsi. Come.
Can you read?
Which one?
This here.
مرد باید بود پیشی حکیم حق تا بیاید زخم حکم حق تا نیاید زخم اسرب الفلق.
One more time.
مرده باید بود پیش حکم حق تا بیاید
Right? You got to be dead.
Yeah.
باید بود پیش حکم حق. Right? Before, when you stand before the hukm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he says this is going to happen, that's not going to happen. So in terms of halal, haram, and in terms of what's qada and qadar, you got to be dead. You're not going to move. I'm not going to say this or that. So whatever you say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not running away from it, and I'm running to it. I'm completely taslim, I'm submitting myself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm like a dead person. Right? What's the next part?
تا نیاید زخم از رب الفلق. Yeah.
What does that mean? Here it says, so he translates, says, one must be dead in the presence of the decree of God, so that no blow may come from the Lord of the daybreak. Be careful. So I mean, this is talking about something general, but so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so what?
It's okay.
Sorry. So this is slightly different than that he's talking about. He's using the word Rabb al-Falaq about qada and qadar and being patient with qada and qadar. But what is it? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is running the show, and you've got to turn to Him. Right? Tayyib. And now we're going to Surat An-Nas. So who can recite Surat An-Nas for me? I remember when I used to do Tafsir, one of my teachers, we'd always do one page of the Quran before we start Tafsir. Right? Because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that no people ever come together in any of the houses of Allah, masjid, that they study the Quran together. They recite the Quran and they study together. It mentions reciting and studying together, right? I.e., so that you recite it. So who can do Surah An-Nas for me? One of the kids. Who can do what Surah An-Nas?
He's shy.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, with Sunnah. Ikram Allah?
Yeah.
Sunnah. Surah An-Nas.
Brother. Oh, you already had a chance.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس صدق الله العظيم.
Okay. So this is an extremely important surah, Surah An-Nas, obviously at the end of the Quran. And it's An-Nas, who knows what An-Nas means? People, right? Nas or Unas means people, right? Now, there's a quote, and A'udhu Billah was quoting a Kafir philosopher, Sartre. He said, hell is other people. He said, hell doesn't exist, hell is just other people. So it's a famous line in one of his plays. It's kind of true. Why is it kind of true?
Because some people can't make your life.
Yeah, some other people make life hell. Okay, but so is it they're making your life hell, or is it the way that you look at them and the way that you react to them?
The second one, the way you look at it, the way you react.
Right. So obviously, if somebody is torturing you in a prison, may Allah save us all, it's quite difficult to be patient with that, but you could be, right? So you have to see as Iman. You could just see it all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's all, as they say in Arabic, Darab al-Habib Zabib. When your beloved punches you, it's like he gives you raisins, right? And so it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so alhamdulillah, that's just some serious level of Iman. For normal people, it's like, oh, this is actually hell because I'm being tortured, right? But let's say, for example, other people really tick you off. Other people, like, you're annoyed at the traffic lights. Like, why is it that every single time I come to the space of traffic lights? Why do they do that? Why is it that every single time they do that, they ask me last minute to do something? It's like, oh, it's annoying. Is it what other people do or that makes you pain inside? Or is it the fact that you get annoyed? Is it the fact that you have a certain way of thinking, a certain way of dealing with other people, that you allow yourself to be annoyed, right? And so what is it then is, how can you free yourself from the pain of other people? It's having a direct relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and everybody, right? And so it's easy to say and very difficult to do, right? But that's the That's what it is. And so my teacher Sheikh Nuh Kala, he was reading about Sufis, how the Sufis, they do all these karamat and all these amazing things. So he asked one of his teachers, who was a Hanafi Shafi fiqh, he said, what is tasawwuf? What is it like doing Sufism? What is all this thing about? He says, I heard that you do miracles and heard that you can pick God out of the sky and you can do this, you do this wird and you do this wazifat and all these kind of things. He says, no, what it means is that when somebody picks gold out of your pocket, you don't mind, your heart isn't changed. So yes, there is a haqq and get the gold back, etc., but your heart's not changed. Like if your house fell down, it wouldn't change. You're the same, right? So he asked him, said, well, Sheikh, if somebody pulled gold out of your pocket, wouldn't you get angry? He says, of course, I'd break his head. Right? But so what is it? Is having salam to sadr, that your heart is at peace with other people and you don't have an ego thing with other people. If they like you, they don't like you, it's the same, right? And so this verse is talking about a nas and protecting from a nas and to these things. And so there's also another story. There's a book called The Book of Strangers. It's an English book. And there's this guy in the future. He worked in this world where everybody's in offices all the time. And nobody goes outside because outside's bad, and outside there's bad people and bad things. And so we stay in offices and we work in offices. That's where it's safe and good. So one day he's tidying up his office and he realizes that there's this message written behind this thing in his wall. There's one of the paintings. And he realizes that there's somebody out there in the wilderness outside the offices and outside these things. There's actually people who live there. So he decides he's going to break the law and actually go and see what on earth is out there, because apparently it's very dangerous, but he's going to go there. And he meets all these people, and they're all like studying together, and they're all sitting there, and they have lessons, and they're like all religious, and they pray, and they're basically Muslims. Like, oh, these are these Muslims who live outside of this kind of like this world. But what he finds is whenever he arrives there, that all the students there who are studying, they're always following him around. And it's so annoying. Like, he never has a single time to himself. He's always being followed around by this person, that person. Like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, it's like so annoying. And so one day he goes and asks the teacher there, and he says, why? Like, it's so annoying. There's so many people everywhere. There's so many people everywhere. They're always like following me around. I like this place. It's better than my world, but this is really annoying. He said, yeah, I actually told them to follow you around. I said, why? Because do you think you're a good person to be alone with? So you, by yourself, you're going to be alone with yourself. Do you think you are a good person to be alone with? Right? Like, there's something wrong with you. So I sent all these people to you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent you Farid Dingle to annoy you. For God's sake, can you just speak a bit clear English? Sent the red light, sent all these things. These are these annoying things around you. Sent your little kids that are going to make you go nuts. Why? To teach you lessons, to change you. You're going to learn about your patience with your kids. You're going to learn about this with this, all these different things. So all the mess around you is all a design to help you change. And one of the best annoying people is your better half. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put you right next to somebody, said, here you go, you now live with this person who knows everything about your life, and is now a mirror saying, by the way, you have this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, and this problem. And now you got to be like, oh, I didn't know that before. Yeah, because nobody lived with you like that, right? Your parents always patted you on the back and made your lunch for you, or whatever they did, paid for this and paid for that. Okay, this person is not the same. They're not your mom, they're not your dad, they're not your brother, they're not your sister. Now they're going to be, there's certain things you obviously like about them, you love them, but there's a lot of things that like, oh my God, this person ticks me off so much. Here. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching you a lesson. There's a reason why these things are there. Right, as one person said, I trained her for free. Right? So it's very important. So we learn all these lessons by being around other people. What is wrong with you? Where is your lack of patience? Where is your lack of mercy? Where is the lack of this? Where is that? It's very important, and you learn different things at different times, right? And so society is important. We are not supposed to be living by ourselves on a mountain. There are certain people at certain times who did that. Right, who they spent a long time by themselves, and it's important. Many of the ulama, they spoke about al-uzla, being by themselves, kitab al-uzla, getting away from bad company, being by ourselves. I myself did that basically. I mentioned to some of you, how did I survive high school? There was just me. I'm the only Muslim in high school. I didn't have a single friend, right? Because what do you do otherwise? Who's going to hang out with, right? And so basically 17 to 18, I didn't have a single friend, basically. I have a friend now, Abdullah, that's about it.
Man, we'll make a list of
Friend with
so sad.
Alhamdulillah. No, I'm joking. But what is it? So it's important sometimes to be away from people, but generally speaking, it's a social religion. We live with other people, and we are harmed by other people. We also harm other people, and we learn lessons from being harmed by other people. How can we change the way we react to other people? And also, what did we do to somebody? Realize you think you're caring and altruistic, but you're not actually. When you put you in a relationship, it shows you're not, right? And this is SubhanAllah. Again, if you look at the life of the Prophet ﷺ, one of the greatest karamat of the Prophet ﷺ, the greatest miracles of the Prophet ﷺ, is that he had more than 11 wives, right? So at one point he had 11 wives, but over the time he had more than 11 wives, right? And not a single one of them left Islam. So why is that? Why is that a miracle? It's because they know the real deal. Your wife is like, listen. You say, ask Abdullah about Sa'ad, ask Abdul Rahman about Sa'ad. Let's ask Sa'ad's wife about Sa'ad. Is this guy legit or not? It's like, well, 1, 2, yeah, and no. Ask. You're like Sheikh Farid. You can ask my wife about Sheikh Farid, right? So you ask. Here all these women. Okay, if the Prophet ﷺ was a liar, if the Prophet ﷺ was a womanizer, if the Prophet ﷺ was in it for the dunya, in it for whatever, one of them would have told us, right? Another way, like, come on, guys, we know this guy. No, this guy is from. This person is 120% legit, no questions. So the fact that not a single one of them left Islam tells us that the Prophet was true, right? So the training is for free, right? We're training them for free too. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so the Surat An-Nas starts with Qul. What does that tell us? It means say. Why is that significant? Allah is commanding us specifically to say these words. Just like the whole Quran is supposed to say, but these specific things, say this dua, take this as a dua. Right? Extra special dua as we mentioned before. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. So we know what قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ means. We know what قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ what was it? Do we do أعوذ? We know أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. So what does قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ mean? What does that even mean?
Seek refuge with the Lord.
Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of mankind or people. Good, right? So again, same theme. There's all this problem out there. You're not going to get away from it. So what do? I see this problem, this guy I'm working with, and it can be very difficult. I turn to Allah through him. I'm going to deal with him. I'm not going to leave the scenario. I'm not going to leave this scenario. I'm here with these people, with my parents, at work, with whatever that I have to deal with the people. But I see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala behind them, and I deal with Allah, and I seek protection in the one who's controlling these people. Right? We mentioned, what was it? Did we mention this last week about we saw them all as dead? Mm-hmm. We mentioned that, right? With Abu Yazid al-Bustami, that he worshipped Allah and he worked on himself such that he saw that all the people around him were effectively dead, meaning they're just puppets of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made so-and-so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made so-and-so, all these things, and not really dealing with people and dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what they say, أن تكون مع الله بلا علاقة وأن تكون مع الخلق بلا نفس. That you should be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without any particular relationship, just with Allah. You're not this, you're not that, there's just Allah. وأن تكون مع الناس مع الخلق بلا نفس. That you should be with other people without any ego. That means I'm calm, right? Calm and deal with people. People are trying to annoy you. People are trying to do this, to do that. You're not fazed by people, right? طيب. So we did أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, أعوذ برب الفلق, قل أعوذ برب الناس. We did that. Nas. We did these things. Rabb. What was the meanings of Rabb? Key meaning of what does it mean? Tarbiyah. So tarbiyah was what?
Somebody that makes tarbiyah of you.
Teaches you and brings you higher, right? That's tarbiyah. So Lord, we can translate it as cherishing owner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above you. You're beneath him. He's above you. He owns you. He can tell you what to do. You can't tell him what to do. True. He's also who cherishes you, values you, loves you. That's Rabb, right? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ. So one second here. So قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. Okay. Skip that. Okay, Nas. So what does Nas mean? And Nas is originally from the word Unas. Unas. You can say Ja'a Nasun wa Ja'a Unasun. Some people came or some people came. Unas or Unas. So the root letters are Hamza, Noon, and Sin. Like the word Uns, which means Hamza, Noon, and Sin. Who knows what the word Uns means? Uns, that's Uns. Yeah. Come on.
That's right.
Okay, Uns. Uns is affection, right? Uns is affection. So why do we refer to people as affection? Is because yes, someone might try and kill you, but by default people live together in peace and love, right? As opposed to an animal who's going to try and kill you, right? Animals are dangerous. People are nice. Uns. Anis is someone you're close with and friendship with, right? Mustetness is to feel comfortable with other people. So the word uns. Okay, so with people, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all these people around you that are causing you a headache, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is their Lord. And He's your Lord. Right? He is their Lord and He's also your Lord. Right? Okay. Malikin Nas. So we have two words that are very, very similar and we have to memorize the difference. Malak. Malik. Malak fatha. Malik kasra. Malak means an angel. Malaika. Malak, malaika. Malik al-muluk. Shah, was it Shahin Shah? Is that right? Shahin Shah? Right. So Malik al-muluk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Malik al-muluk. So Malik means king. Mulk, dominion. Mamlaka. Right, you say that? Kingdom. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the king of An-Nas. So what does that mean? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ. What does that mean? The whole thing. Say.
Say I am.
No. أعوذ.
Say
I seek refuge in the Lord of people, Malik and Nas, king of the people. So I seek refuge in the Lord, the cherishing owner of all the people around me, the king of all the people around me, Ilahin Nas. Ilah, God, right? And the God of all these people. What did it remind ourselves of what does God mean? We said the meaning, three senses or words related to, or senses of the word God. We said wila, or someone who is walhan, is they are lost in love. So ilah means the thing that people love. Aliha meant to be confused. So a God is something that we can't understand, is something beyond our understanding. And ta'alluh meant to need. So when you say God, what does that even mean? It means the thing that everybody loves, the things that people need, but they can't understand. Right? They can't understand. Can't understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, and again to remind ourselves from Saturday night, can we say, so there's a difference between not being able to understand Allah and being able to say something meaningless about Allah. Right? So it's true you can't understand Allah. Allah is too complex for you to understand. True. But that doesn't mean you can say something ridiculous about Allah. Allah is, but He isn't. What does that mean? Allah is one, but He's three. So that doesn't make any sense. Is He one or is He three? Right? Oh, you can't understand Allah. Yeah, I know you can't understand Allah. But that doesn't mean you can say something ridiculous about Allah. So there are certain things you can say about Allah. Right? And there are other things you just can't understand about Allah. Right? But there's a difference between I can't understand what you're saying and what you're saying does not make sense. Right? Papal infallibility just said, what was it? Uns. You're like, oh, I don't know what that word is in German. It's illogical. No, you just don't understand it. There's a difference. The difference in I don't understand what you're saying, what does uns mean, and that's illogical. So, for example, Mikhail, my son, is like, I just don't understand how Allah can't have been caused by something else. Like, it doesn't make sense. Okay, what was before Allah? It's like nothing. So it doesn't make sense. Meaning I can't understand it. Right? So he's like, man, I don't get it. Like, how can there not be something before Allah? Like, what made Allah? Like, where's his mummy? Where's his daddy? Like, I don't get it. Right? So that's difficult for you to understand, but that's not illogical. It's difficult to swallow. That's not illogical. As opposed to, well, God died on the cross, but he didn't die on the cross. But that's illogical. Like, did he die or did he not die? So is Jesus God or not? So who is he talking to when Jesus talks to God then? Right? Like, that's illogical as opposed to you don't understand it. Right? There's two different things. Okay. So إله الناس قل أعوذ برب. The mic died. رضي الله عنه. Who's going to do janazah? Bismillah.
Abdullah's going to lead it.
Okay. It's cool. Okay. So what was it? قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس. What does Rabb Malik meant? King. So that's different. King is I own you. Rabb, I own and I care for you. Different, right? إله الناس, God of man. قل أعوذ برب الناس قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس. So min sharri, we did that in Surah Al-Falaq. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر, from the evil. So here it's going to say min sharri, which means from the evil. So again, there's evil out there. Who created the evil? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Was Allah bad for creating the evil? No. Are we bad for doing the evil?
Yes.
Choosing evil? Yes. Min sharri al-waswasi al-khannas. Who knows what waswasa is? Whisper. You say that in Farsi? Waswasa? Right?
Yes.
Right. So waswasa this is an onomatopoeic word. A word whose sound has same meaning. Right? Like, so there's lots of onomatopoeic words in Arabic. Onomatopoeia is a word like when you say, oh, he banged the door. So the word bang has the sound of bang, right? Rat-a-tat-tat, right? That's a word. What is it? The word reflects the sound, right? So waswas reflects the sound when you whisper, right? That's called waswasa, right? And so al-waswas is the one who is always whispering, the one who's always whispering. Al-khannas, khannasa means to disappear. So who is this person who is always whispering and always disappearing? Who is this person? A shaitan, right? Our buddy. Okay? And so there are 5 types of ideas that are going to come into your head, right? 5 types of ideas that are going to come into your head. There are 5 types. 1 second. Yeah. You're going to have Rahmani ideas that come to your head from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these are ideas, the sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one, the sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is running the show, this kind of impulse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's something greater, right? This kind of like wave that comes over you, that there's something bigger, more important, running everything around you. Turn to Him, that's the bigger picture, right? Like remembrance, yeah, dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then there are ideas that are angelic. To go to the mosque and pray. Go and tell him, I'm sorry. Wash your hands before you eat. Reminding you of the good things that you know. They don't come and tell you about things you don't know. So the angels don't say, by the way, it's sunnah to do this. There's a hadith, by the way, Rawah Bukhari. That would be pretty cool, right? But they don't do that. They don't tell you things like that. So they'll remind you. Just it's a thing. Okay, remember to go and do this sunnah. So the angels will come and remind you to do those things, right? And then there are what is it? and then there are nafsanic things. Nafsanic things is from your nafs. So the nafs is not good or bad, it's just an impulse. So you're born and you're given this nafs to keep you alive. So for example, there's twins, and so one of them pushes the other twin away to get the cake. Because if you don't get the cake, you're gonna die. So that's just normal. Like the baby's like, yeah, be egotistic and try and get things, get more attention, get more food, get more fun, because it just keeps you alive, right? That's how nature works. You have two, what's it called? What's a baby? Eaglet? Is that what they call it? Baby eagles? Eaglet, I think it's called. You know, basically what happens is there's only going to be one at the end, but there's three in the beginning, so they fight it out and they try and get more meat than the other one, and then one dies. That's survival of the fittest. That's how it works. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this nafs to do survival of the fittest. Get more than other people, get ahead of other people, and you do all these things. That's all great, and you need these kind of like survival kind of things there. But when you reach puberty, this kind of works against you, because you want to eat food, but it's Ramadan, so it's haram. You want to be stronger than other people, so you beat other people up. Yeah, but that's haram. You can't do that. So you want to put other people down, so you make riba, and everybody laughs, and so you got the attention that you were supposed to get as a child to get ahead, but then that's actually haram. So it's a bit of a problem, right? So the nafs is not telling you to do specifically this or that. The nafs doesn't say get the stolen car. The nafs says get the car, right? The nafs doesn't say commit zina. The nafs just says get the opposite sex. It's interested in the opposite sex, that's all. So the nafs is just this pulse in you to get things. More food, more attention, more this, more that. It doesn't particularly care if it's halal or haram. That's not the point, right? It's just there to just drive for things, and things are always there, right? Otherwise you wouldn't survive. You wouldn't exist, right? But and so that pulse is there, and it's indiscriminate. It doesn't drive for this and doesn't drive for that. But it's dangerous, because if you just continue pushing and it says I want food, and you say, well, okay, you can have food. Okay, but it's Ramadan, you can't have food, right? I want attention. Yeah, you can get attention here. You want to, mashallah, become the best employee of the company. That's fine. But you want attention, you say something, you realize you can get more attention if you said something haram. You can do more attention if you could mock somebody in front of everybody else and everybody would laugh. Okay, that's called haram. So it's dangerous, right? So that's why one of the ulama, he says, وَالنَّفْسُ كَالطِّفْلِ إِن تُهْمِلْهُ شَبَّ عَلَى حُبِّ الرَّضَاعِ وَإِن تَفْطِمْهُ يَنْفَطِمِ. He said that the nafs is like a child, right? وَالنَّفْسُ كَالطِّفْلِ وَالنَّفْسُ كَالطِّفْلِ إن تهمله شبع. If you just leave it, so this is a baby, it wants to have milk. Okay, 6 months, fine. It wants to have milk. Okay, 1 month, fine. 1 year, fine. It wants to have milk, it's a year and a half, fine. 2 years, okay, that's the cutoff point. So you're just going to leave it. What's going to happen to the baby? It's going to be 5-year-old baby and still drinking milk from his mother. So if you just leave it, it's going to be doing crazy things. It's going to be 50 and be like, oh, where's milk? It's like, what happened to you? Nobody ever did anything with this baby. Right? But if you wean it, it's going to be weaned. So if you control it, it's going to be all right. But if you don't, it's going to be a disaster, right? And so that's why we have, you train your kids. No, don't swear, don't do this, and then eventually it's your turn. You reach puberty now. You got to watch yourself. And your nafs wants this thing, that's halal. Go ahead. Your nafs wants that thing, that's haram. You have to get used to that, right? And it's not easy, right? And everybody has their own nafs tests. Right? And this is a useful thing as well with the better half is the nafs. Everyone's ego is different. My ego has problems and inclines to certain things that are different to Sa'd. So I see something in Sa'd, for example. Sa'd looks at this car and is like, oh, I really want to buy this car. I'm like, oh, look at Sa'd. He's really into cars and dunya. Okay, well, what are you into? I'm into another type of dunya. Men are into some dunya things, and women into other dunya things. Men have certain nafs problems, and women have other nafs problems. Everyone has problems. They're not perfect. And so you see the other side, you're like, what's this, man? Right? And then you realize, hang on a minute, they have certain problems that you don't have, and they have other problems, right? We have to understand that, each other's imperfections, right? So what were we talking about? What's worse? So here I am, these ideas are coming to me. What are these ideas? Either from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or from the angels, or from my nafs. Nafs says food, 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 right? And it's very important with the nafs is that you're not, and again, the same alim, he says, what is it? فَرُبَّ مَخْمَصَةٍ شَرٌّ مِنَ التُّخَمِ. He says what? Can't remember what he says. But he says, be careful of basically pushing your nafs too much. So you're like, nafs, you can't have anything. Okay, so what's going to happen? What's going to happen? You say, for example, nafs, you're not going to get married ever. And instead, we're going to get all these men, and they're going to go to a madrasa, and they're just not going to get married, and they're just going to spend their whole time making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're going to study and teach, and we're going to put a whole load of boys in there as well, and teach all these boys. What happens with these kids, with these men and these boys? Weird things happen. And that's what we happen in the church, for example. The whole history of the church, always weird sexual abuse happening. Why? Because they're pushing your nafs too hard. As a man, you're supposed to have a wife. As a wife, you're supposed to have a husband. Weird things happen to you, right? You push yourself too much. If you fast for 3 days in a row, it might be that now Fajr, the adhan comes in, and you're going to eat. What are you doing? You could have eaten last night, but you were pushing yourself. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us Islam, which is mu'tadil, which is normal. Marry, fast sometimes, don't fast other times, pray and sleep, etc. Moderation. When you push yourself to an extreme, you end up doing haram things, right? And so you don't do that, right? Just an example, myself, I'll be like, oh, I'm not going to have breakfast today. I'm not going to have breakfast today because I'm trying to be healthy. Okay, and then it's like, oh man, it's like lunchtime and I'm like working and I'm getting stressed. So there's my body saying, okay, you need food because you're working and it's stressed about something. What'd you do? Go and buy a Snickers bar. It's like, what's the point in that? Have a good breakfast in the morning, eat 10 eggs. I don't care how many eggs, like 10, whatever, instead of eating a Snickers bar for lunch, right? Same thing. You're like, oh, I've got to do this, okay, and then you do it haram. I was like, why? Right? And this happens, unfortunately. It's unfortunately particularly the case with marriage. Like, oh, I've got to study. I've got to do my masters. I've got to do this. Like, yeah, what are you doing while you're not married? Right? And this is for men and women. Women don't talk about it as much, but it happens. All the time. Right? And so that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when you reach puberty, that's for a reason. And you have needs, which is for a reason. It's all halal and healthy. So go and get married. But you say, no, my son has to become a doctor. Right? My son has to become this. My son has to. It's like, why? And then it's like, yeah. And it's like, well, what's he doing the whole time? Yeah. And so it's it's not healthy, right? It's not healthy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, balance, right? You have a balance thing, right? You push yourself so hard. There's even with ibadah, some of the salaf would say that when you're praying 1,000 rak'ahs a night. If you're praying 1,000 rak'ahs a night, that's fine. But don't pray 1,000 rak'ahs at night if you hate it. When you get to the point and say, I hate it. Like, was it? What is it? Muhammad Ali said, I pushed myself to the max in training and I hated every single moment of it. Every single moment of my training. Right? You shouldn't be like the ibadah. Right? The guy in the mosque, Farid Dingle, speaks for such a long time, you're like, forget this, I'm not coming back next week. It shouldn't be like that. The Prophet, that's how he taught a little bit, taught people a little bit, prayer a little bit, right? You do it and to the point where you still like it. And you push yourself so much that you just hate it. It's like, what's the point? Right? It doesn't work like that. So what is it? So these ideas that come to you could be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ideas that come to you could be from the angels. The ideas in your head, they come from yourself, just a drive for whatever it is. I'm hungry. And it could be what? They could also just be mental things. 1 + 1 = 2. So it's just a mental thing. That's not anything there. And then the fifth one is our buddy, Mr. D, the devil. So what's the difference between the nafs and the shaitan? Yeah, what's the difference between shaitan?
Shaitan calls you to evil, but he invites you to evil.
Right. So the difference is he uses the information in your head in a very particular way. He's not interested in serving your nafs. He's not interested in getting achieving your nafs goals. He's interested in getting your nafs to be the driving force to haram specifically. Specifically. So your nafs says, food. I don't care about fajr or not fajr, just food. Shaitan wants you to eat at fajr, when the adhan of fajr goes, to eat that time. He wants you to eat 5 minutes before maghrib. Right? Specifically the haram. Right? So the nafs is saying the opposite sex. Shaitan says your neighbor's wife. Specifically the haram. So so what he does is he works in certain very certain angles. He says 1, 2, 3. He doesn't say, we'll go and worship the devil. He doesn't come before you, hi, come worship me. He doesn't do that. He goes step by step. He's like, step by step. We gave an example on Halloween. Oh, it's just a joke, right? Come on, look at me, I look like a vampire. It's just a joke. So it's just a joke to be number one. Ha ha, look at me, I look like a vampire. It's just a joke. And then that glorification of demons, basically, it becomes a joke, and so you laugh and you don't laugh, and it becomes something that is kind of acceptable. Then it becomes actually acceptable, and then it becomes practice, and then it becomes you're doing it, and then you're forced to do it. If you don't do it, something bad, right? Bit by bit, it's just a joke, right? Somebody who how many times at school some guy does some kind of gay joke? It's a joke, right? 10 years ago, it was a joke. It's not a joke anymore, right? Back then, it was like, haha, it's funny, whatever. It's just hilarious. Like, yeah, that's just funny then. But it was funny, and now it's real. Now it's that's yeah, exactly, right? Don't cancel. We love all human beings. That's true. We love all human beings, and this is not, So, do we love gay people as Muslims? Do we love gay people?
Yes.
Right. What does that mean? I mean, we want the good for every single person. Every single person. You say, oh, wallahi, by Allah, I wish that person for the best for that person. If you're not like that, there's something wrong with you. Right? The only person we don't want best for is shaitan, because khalas, we know he's finished with. You're trying to say, oh Allah, we turn back time? No. That's different. But if shaitan was alive, we say, oh Allah, please make him repent and make him better than me. Okay, but he's shaitan. Even so, yeah, but khalas, with shaitan, he's finished, done. So you're not going to make dua now against it. You're not going to make dua for him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you, khalas, he's mal'oon, and that's it. He's cursed, and that's it. But anybody who's not finished, it doesn't matter how bad they are, it doesn't matter how wicked they are, it doesn't matter what they've done to you, still, may Allah forgive that person. Forgive that person, they change, inshallah, they can be better than me. Right? And you don't know. Right? So these are these 5 ideas. So again, what's the difference with shaitan? The shaitan is particularly pointing in things. So what he'll do is often remind you of certain facts you weren't aware of. So you know there was a sister over there? Yeah, I knew that. I knew there was a sister over there. But why did I suddenly think of a sister over there now? Right? There's men and women. Okay, why did this shaitan suddenly, or why did I suddenly think about the fact that there's a door over there, that this, that? So he gets the information, he comes up with a plan, a very subtle plan of how you can do the haram, and just puts you in that direction, right? Starts opening the doors, and then helps you. He advises you at each stage how you can really get into the haram, right? And he doesn't come at you. He doesn't say do the haram. He says, for example, wouldn't you be interested in marriage? You're like, yeah, of course. And he'll say it's sunnah to get married. And he said, well, why don't you apply the sunnah? Why don't you go on this website, marriage website, and whatever? And here's this girl, and she wants to talk to you. And now you have this number, and they say, well, you better meet her properly. I mean, otherwise, like, what's the point? You're just going to marry her online. So you meet her and say, well, you haven't even seen her without hijab. Yeah, you haven't seen this, you haven't seen that. We're going to marry her and don't even know what she's like. Like you've never been with her. Like, what are you talking about? So step by step from the sunnah, he talks to everybody and at their own level. He talks to Farid as the faqih. He talks to Saad as the whatever. He talks to Abdullah as the programmer, as about so and so. And he comes to you from your side. Right? He comes to you in your clothing, and he's a nice guy. He's your buddy, and he uses the information in your head to bit by bit. So what is it? When you catch these things, and one thing he'll do, for example, as well, is that the angels will come to you and say, you're on Instagram, and there's a thing, donate to random charity in India, right? And it says $10. Okay, $10. Bismillah. So the angel comes to you and says, yeah, do it. Shaitan says, well, you're stingy. What's your problem? Why only $10? Like, well, how much have you got in your bank, bro? $10 for some kid dying in India. And he's like, oh yeah. So then the shaitan's like, yeah. And then you realize, oh, I need to use another card. The shaitan says, yeah, use your other card. And then you go and get the card, and someone calls you, and you forget giving to charity. The shaitan was clever, right? Just like the moves in basketball, right? 1, 2, whatever, classic moves. So that's what he does, right? So what is it? How do you avoid these things? Shaitan. So you're thinking, oh, maybe I'll pray 2 rakahs just like that. And the shaitan comes to you and says, well, mashallah, go make wudu again, because it's sunnah to make wudu again. Why don't you do Surah Al-Baqarah? Why don't you do this? And you end up not doing anything. So what do? You have a good idea. The angels come to you and say, do something good. You do it immediately, even if it's something small. Because there's no such thing as small. Right? There's no such thing small. $10 to some kids in India. Great, bismillah. This card, whatever, it doesn't matter. Do it now. Right? Because the shaitan's going to try and trick you to do something else. Memorize the Quran. Why would you memorize the Quran? You can memorize the 10 qira'at. 10 qira'at, who is like khalas. Why are you doing the Quran right now when you could do fiqh? Why are you doing fiqh now? Okay, mashallah, think about a plan. Don't think about that. Think about moving to South Africa and studying for 20 years. Okay, think about the business that you can do first. And he's like, come on, I just wanted to learn Surat An-Nas, And he's like, where did he get this? So what is it? Something small? Yeah, go to Yemen, and then how are you going to go to Yemen? And then it's like, just do the small thing now, and then think about that later on. Do one little thing now. Alhamdulillah, is one little thing. All I do is want to ask one question, and then 1, 2, 3, 5. And so the internet works. Internet works just like the shaitan, or they're the same thing. And that's what we're going to see come to the end. We don't have time today, but is you open online, you're trying to find one thing, and you get something else. That's the shaitan, right? That's advertising, right? They're the same thing. They studied in the same school, right? It's the same thing, right? And so you come from one thing and you end up doing something else. So what is it? You got to be very clear. I'm doing one thing. A good idea comes to you, you do it immediately, right? And then a bad idea, as soon as you start thinking about, as soon as it gets to the idea that you're thinking about makruh and haram, you say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and it disappears. And one of these things that my wife, subhanAllah, she told me, she said, she noticed whenever she does Ayatul Kursi, I disappear. Right? So that's another good thing as well, right? And so, alhamdulillah. And so that's the other thing, is Ayatul Kursi as well, right? But it's normal. It's normal that the shaitan's going to come to you. The issue is, how do you deal with him, right? And so how do you deal with him? You turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Inshallah, we'll stop there because it's getting a bit late. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala... Any question? No. Okay. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallam. Subhanallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
The best one is the Veda prayer.